Hi, I'm Melissa at last, and welcome back to my channel, Rose Ether Cherubim. Today we're going to be talking about faith. My last video was about identity, being rooted in God, and how God is the only one who has formed your identity. And if you want to go back to that subject, that's going to be the first video. But today we're talking about faith, and we are coming out of 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 7. Now, see, recently, lately, I have been more reading where the disciples are. I finished Matthew, I finished Luke, and right now I'm currently in Mark. So I have swam a little bit in the Paul water, but I'm still in the shallow end, and a lot of the material is very new to me. But in what I have read, what I like about Paul is he talks about accepting Christ, giving your life over to God, but the application of that, the application of divine law, accepting that this is your identity now, this is who you are, but how to apply that to your life, how to apply that to your mindset, and what to move away from. And he's very thorough in application of divine law, of how you should conduct yourself in society, in life, in your mindset, spiritually, how spiritually manifesting it into the flesh through your conduct. So I enjoy that about Paul. And first chapter, verse 7 says, "For God hath not given us the spirit of fear, but of power, of love, and of a sound mind." I think that's very important that he placed those together. Now, power can be interpreted also as authority. So your authority, the way that you stand in life. Love, loving yourself, loving your neighbor, but most of all, loving God, and of a sound mind. So that's that peace that we talk about and we hear about time and time again. Your peace, why it's so important, why it's so needed to be protected at all costs. And again, love, the way your heart needs to be protected of all costs. And then your power, how you're not, how it's not, basically you're not allowed. You're not allowed to give your power away. If you're going to give your power away and be submissive to anybody, it's going to be to God. And the fact that he put those three things together for you to understand if there's anything operating in your life or within you outside of your authority, of your love, and you having a peaceful, a sound mind, that's not from God. That is something outside of God that has either been placed in you or is being projected on you. And I think it's super important that we talk about that and we really understand that. So if you're feeling anything that creates stress, that creates uneasiness, okay, is this going against my authority? Is this going against the love that I have within me? And why is it affecting the soundness of my mind? Why is it affecting my peace? And once we're feeling any of those things, we need to ask ourselves these questions, and we need to analyze and be aware of the environment, the people, or the things that we're taking in. It could be food, it could be entertainment, it could be news, and or it could just be our own worries that are bubbling up and we're allowing to repeat in our head. And we have to check that and address all of those things. Because any of that is going to bubble down basically to fear or doubt. And those are the opposite components of faith. Faith will get you through fear, through doubt. Your faith that God has only great things planned for you. That whatever you're going through is either a lesson or it's something that he's trying to bless you with. It's up to you to interpret it and get into that prayer time, get into that meditation with God to figure out what is it that is going on right now? What is it that I'm feeling? And you have things to compare it to: authority, love, sound mind. Is it any of those things that are positive, or is it negative? Or Am I interpreting it as negative and really this is something for me to grow through? This is just uncomfortableness that I need to grow through, but it will make me better. Kind of like lifting weights, and you go up to the next weight and it's going to be difficult and you're going to be a little shaky and you might be out of breath and you might not be able to do it the first few times. But the more you try it, it's going to make you stronger. You're going to be happy with the outcome if you continue to push forward. But then you have to decipher, okay, is this something that I push forward to because it's going to make me better? Or is this God's protection and it's pushing me back because this is not an area that I need to enter? Or this is not something that I'm not to experience right now or at all. And again, that's why the meditation and the prayer and the time that you spend with God is so important, because He's going to guide you through all of these things. And in that, your belief grows, your belief in God, because you're going to see each time that God comes through for you. And your belief in God, your trust in God grows with each step that you take with Him, where you're like, okay, God, you are telling me that this is what it is, so I'm going to move according to your word or when you tell me. And each time that there's success, you're going to understand that, you know what, God has my back every time. And I need to give Him that trust and I need to give Him that faith. I can't give God doubt when He's never let me down. And any time that I didn't get what I wanted or I was hurt by a situation, not only was God there for me, but God showed me why I needed to go through that, why I needed to learn it, or how it wasn't going to be good for me anyway. And to show me that in every situation, the first thing I need to look for is the silver lining. Then I need to look for the humor. And then with time, God will reveal His why it happened, why you experienced it, how it shaped you, and the fact that He has your whole entire timeline already planned out. So this was part of just a grander vision that God had for me. And then there goes your trust, there goes your faith, and there goes your belief. So there's any time that the road seems unclear, things are a little foggy in your mind, or things are just not going smoothly, then you know, okay, God has had my back every time and has brought me through every time. So this is the time right now where I need to give Him my faith. This is the time where I have to have my faith and my trust that God will always have my best interest at heart. He is always protecting me, and He is always leading and guiding me to greater. Every day is greater because the way that I love God and my relationship with God. And that's why your faith is so important. It's honestly, there are going to be so many times in your journey where faith is the only thing you need. Your faith, and you stay still and you wait on God. And then it's going to come through, and then you're going to be like, oh, it makes sense. I am so glad I waited. I am so glad I didn't move out of emotion or ego or any of the immature things that we tend to move out of when we're struggling with doubt, when we're struggling with faith. You're going to be so glad that you didn't submit to doubt, that you didn't submit to fear, that you submitted to your faith and your trust in God. So for me personally, doubt came a lot in my teenage years, where I felt that if someone had more experience or more knowledge than me, then they were automatically correct. I felt that age was wisdom, that experience was wisdom. And in my adolescent mind, I didn't realize that there could be adults who still operated at like a child mindset or a teenage mindset, that sometimes adults get traumatized and they stay at the emotional age of which they were traumatized. Or if they have a problem with alcohol or with substance abuse, then they never really moved past the mental age of when they started using those substances. So growing up Catholic, You're surrounded by adults who tell you what to do and how to think. And one of the biggest issues that I had, that was a hurdle that me and God had to overcome, was that being raised Catholic, you have your sacraments. You have baptism, you have let's see, baptism, communion, confirmation, and then you can either go forward, to um, being a nun, or then you can then get married within the church. You have your sacraments, and thinking that you have those sacraments was enough. Memorizing the prayers was enough. There was never any emphasis on relationship with God, on faith and trusting God. And oftentimes I'm hearing the priests, read from the Bible, and the version that they're giving, the sermon that they're giving, it didn't match how I felt when I was reading it. But I always assumed that I was wrong and everybody else was right because they had more experience, they were older and wiser, and I gave my authority away to people because you need to be respectful. You need to understand that you don't know a lot, so the people who are telling you what they know and how to think and how to address God, it they're right and you're not. And there's a lot of shame that was within the Catholic Church of, you must dress super modestly, you can't act this way or that way. There's a lot of judgment. There was a lot of, I didn't see you put nothing in the collection plate. There was a lot of good experiences that I did have within the church and within going to catechism, but there was a lot of things that weren't centered around God. Now, the one thing that I will say was some of the rituals I got to see them do, and it's where they ring a bell and they clear out any spirits, any energy from within the church, and they invite the Holy Spirit in. And I would feel a difference when certain priests would do that ritual. So there was reasons why I would doubt myself and give authority over to someone telling me what to do in regards to God, how to be with God. That memorizing prayers were enough. So when I moved away from the church and began my own personal relationship with God, there was this instinct of, people are going to judge me and view me as, demonic, or view me as someone who has gone astray. And I had to really let go of that and be, what? They're going to feel how they want to feel, but my relationship with God comes first. And everything else comes second after that. I can't let it affect my peace. I can't let it affect the soundness of my mind. And I can't give my authority away to anybody anymore. If I'm going to submit to anybody, it's going to be to God. And right now, in the relationship that I have, away from all of the drama that I grew up in, I feel love. I feel loved. And I feel the most at peace that I ever felt being inside a building. So this is where the doubt that I had of, am I doing the right thing? Am I doing the right thing in regards to following God on my own path? And the answer is always going to be yes. But I had to take those steps and experience what I was going to experience anyway. And I've had people come to me and be like, ask me questions about God. Ask me questions about having a relationship with God. And even comments of like, out of everybody in the family, I didn't think it was going to be you. And that hurt my feelings, but you know what? God did. God did. He saw it was going to be me, and he chose to be close to me. And maybe he'll choose to be close to other people within my bloodline, but that's between him and the other people. And I just had to act, and I just had to step forward and have my relationship with him. And everything and the people that were going to be in my life, they're going to change, and they're going to see it. And if they don't, God's not going to allow them to come close. And that's why sometimes you just have to step anyway, because my faith wasn't developed yet. I was still very worried, very concerned, am I crazy? versus now I'm spiritually awakened. Now I have a good relationship with God. I have a relationship with God that doesn't involve a priest, that doesn't involve me having confession, that doesn't involve, did I go to confession enough this year to go take the bread and the wine? Like, a lot of the rituals and the traditions are not as important and never were as important as our relationship with God. So I loved our talk, all right? And I love you. But remember, God loves you more.